Thank you. Depend on each other here.
And just to mess with Philip, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, my darling. Happy birthday to you.
Oh, thank you.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
And many more.
I had a good one. We had a good birthday.
Yeah.
We've been going since 11 o'clock, right?
9.
9. Yeah, that's right. We got up, got our coffee on, made ourselves beautiful like we always do in the morning. And then we got out there and we started protesting with the Clifton.
UC campus.
Right.
That was fun. They have added extra hills.
Yeah, it seems that way, didn't it?
Absolutely stunning of it.
I know you guys know Clifton. You're both Cincinnatians. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I know the hills.
So we parked right on Short Vine, or right off Short Vine.
Bogarts.
Yeah.
In fact, there was a touring van for the band that was playing tonight. Was right next to the parking lot there, and their security was there, and they were like, "What are you guys doing?" And we're like,
"Yep, there's our sign."
Yeah.
Nice.
Now I did this one. I think this one is really appropriate. We're going to be going to the Pride Parade coming up later this month. I'm going to remove the "don't," so it just says "fan the flames." And then I might have we could use the orange to make flames where the "don't" is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it. So it's a representative of both artistic vision.
Yeah.
Are both represented in a single sign. Our route took us from Short Vine through the center of UC, which is right, close to the football stadium. You know how hilly it is.
Past Nipper.
Yep. Then we went up by McMicken Hall and then down the long ramp that leads down to Clifton Avenue.
And back up around.
Then all the way down Clifton Avenue to Ludlow. Took a right on Ludlow, and then we went back into Burnett Woods, back into the bowels of Burnett Woods, and there was like a gazebo where everybody was collecting. There were speakers there, but
I didn't make it into Burnett Woods.
I left Lisa at Skyline on Ludlow and Clifton, and then I had to walk all the way back up to get the car, so I'm like exhausted.
From Burnett Woods all the way up that way, to Jefferson. Because we were basically at Jefferson and, was it Jefferson? No. Charlton.
Charlton, yeah.
Yeah, Charlton and whatever. Jefferson, I guess.
But
whatever.
The thing is, that's the biggest news we brought back from the protest because it went so fucking smooth.
It was so smooth.
I mean, it was like everybody was so positive.
Yeah, there were so many police lining the route.
Yeah.
And this is me. Hi, officer.
Right. People were chit-chatting with the cop, and they were like, "You're having a uneventful day," and they're, yes, we are, But meanwhile, there were paddy wagons stationed around the routes.
Yeah.
And but I think
and they had a couple of ambulances, and I felt like the ambulance drivers were like, "Screw this shit," and they left. Because nothing. There was nothing bad. Totally smooth, sweet. Nice. Everybody was nice. Our sign might be on the news.
Right.
The WKRC Channel 12 reporter took pictures of me with the sign. Took my name, took my card. So it might have already been on the news, and we just don't know because we had Ken and Cheryl were over.
Yeah, it might have been censored.
Yeah.
But have you guys heard anything bad? I mean, I've heard yesterday. I heard there were a few Marines were arrested in Washington for encroaching on the Capitol. There was
they broke onto was it the Capitol steps or the okay. They cut through. They made it through a barrier. They were all retired Marines. There are Soldiers for Peace. Okay.
The sit-in, right?
And they went to sit on the Capitol steps, and they were arresting them. And there were a couple of older men with walkers.
For that.
And,
You get pardoned for that,
yeah.
going into the Capitol
Oh,
uninvited.
right. You're
Not
right.
not if you're on the wrong side. But they were only detained. They were not, they weren't arrested. They were let go within
Well, they were
a few hours.
They were protesting the use of military troops, Marines,
Right.
in Los Angeles.
Right.
Well, I haven't heard anything here. As far as I know, everything here in Sacramento has been peaceful. Because I know there was supposed to have been a march to the Capitol, and the Sacramento police and the sheriff's department were supposed to be there, but I haven't heard of any violence or anything.
Then probably nothing bad happened.
There's
I think 90%.
the Minnesota assassinations and attempted assassinations.
Right.
We were talking about that before.
Yeah.
We'll review that with you guys here in a minute because.
Yeah, and there was one, I think it was maybe Washington. I'm not sure where it was, but we saw one little news bit where a Trump supporter, a lady who was a Trump supporter, and her like sons and daughter-in-law showed up at a protest, and they held a big Trump sign, and they were, just basically, they were just there. Nobody attacked them. I mean, it was mildly disruptive, but that's the most violent thing I've seen, and that was verbal violence. I
did see a car, I think it was West Virginia, that did attempt to run over
protesters,
some No Kings protesters.
Okay, and what happened?
That's what I'm looking for.
I think it would be hilarious if the only people arrested during the No Kings protests were people that were trying to attack the No Kings protesters. That would be, not hilarious, but
Well, I know that yesterday the Florida sheriff went on national television,
that asshole.
And he basically said, "You throw a brick, you hit us, you're going to
We'll kill you."
Yeah, you're going to be quote unquote graveyard dead.
If you let it turn violent, you do not want to do that in Brevard County. If you throw a brick, a firebomb, or point a gun at one of our deputies, we will be notifying your family where to collect your remains at, because we will kill you graveyard dead.
Now, the funny thing was, Kizzy and I were sitting down watching the news the other night. I believe it was Wednesday night. And I was watching the CBS Evening News. And when they were talking about the Marines in LA, I mentioned the Kent State shootings and how I was concerned that there was going to be another scenario like that. No sooner I got that out of my mouth, the reporter for CBS was interviewing a former Obama aide, and I'll be damned if those exact same two words came out of his mouth. Kent State.
Yep.
Well, yeah, I think that was...
We were a little bit worried about it, but honestly, Philip's worried about it. I'm like, I might get arrested.
Yeah, right.
Something interesting. I get to add arrested.
Well, it'd be inconvenient, especially since we had a podcast for tonight if we were sitting in jail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We might have been late.
But it's
Could have gotten
Culpepper.
fired if you got arrested.
I could get fired for the shit I'm pulling right now.
Yeah.
Actually, we're just talking.
Yeah, he could get fired for having the podcast.
I'm sure I could, but
He could get fired for being in the same room when I'm taking a gummy.
we'll see. I don't know. I just, between the lines you can hear.
Taking a gummy. Don't say
There's a party line where I work, and it's like I'm not towing it right now. But
No.
anyway, it was Culpeper, Virginia. The Culpeper Police Department stopped a Joseph R. Checklick Jr., 21, after they saw him drive recklessly through the group in the area of 801 James Madison Highway. So we'll see how that plays out. But aside from that, I haven't heard much. Hopefully we don't hear much, because it's a testament to the protesters that there's no violence at all. And it's a demonstration that all this bullshit of bringing troops and the National Guard in is all completely irrational and unnecessary.
I will
Virginia
say
and
this
San
much.
Francisco.
I'm sorry, what
Crowds
that?
were struck by motorists.
In San Francisco also.
They actually succeeded at striking the protesters.
Wow. Okay. Well, so far it's good that we've, you know,
Were the perpetrators detained? Does it say?
well, the one here,
I'm only on the second paragraph.
Okay.
James, the guy in Culpeper, Virginia, was detained. Officers stopped Joseph R. Checklick. So he has been detained.
We do know one person who actually believes the propaganda about the protesters all being paid, which is just ridiculous.
Well, if so, they paid 7.1 million. Well, the number I saw was 7.1 million people out today.
Yeah, 5,000, and the projected number was 5,000. They're pretty sure there was more than 5,000 in Cincinnati. There was also a march in Westchester and one in Northern Kentucky. So that's, let's say, 3,000 in Westchester and another probably 4,000 in Kentucky, 5,000. That's a lot of people to pay. How much are they paid? Minimum wage?
Well, if they give them all $500 to come out and protest,
Yeah.
times 7.1 million, it'd be about a quarter of what it costs to have that fucking
And let me tell you, if if our partners, yeah, if our partners from here in Cincinnati are listening to this podcast, thank you so much for all your help. I was the lady in the wheelchair that you helped push. Thank you so much. You guys are amazing. As not so much expected, but it's always nice. I expect niceness from Cincinnatians, and we definitely got that. Everybody was offering to help push. You know, I don't know how Philip looked as he was pushing me, but a couple of those hills were not okay.
I mean, I was doing good. I was pushing her, and then she said, "Okay, I can take it for a couple blocks or a block or two here."
Yeah.
So she turns around and
myself
she goes,
backwards with my feet, you know, pulling and pushing with my feet.
as soon as I would take a break, somebody would converge.
Yeah, and help,
you know,
and just grab the chair.
It's like, okay.
And this one lady, her idea, and it was a good one, was to have one person on each side pulling the chair as they walked up the hill. And I swear to goodness, I'm pretty sure she was probably a triathlon athlete. And her friends were there, and they were like, "Thank you for slowing her down."
I feel like any more news, you know, there's going to be news coming out the next day or two from what's
about
happened
things
today.
that happened.
So we'll probably have a chance to talk about that next week, but
one hopes that the worst of the worst has already come out.
let's hope so.
Because the
We
news
have a
is pretty
name for
fast.
the Minnesota suspect now, Vance Bolter.
Yeah.
Right. Let's talk about that for a minute.
He was a security guard, and he was wearing their armor when he went to those two houses. It was Melissa Hortman and John Hoffman.
Now, who were they? I mean, why were they targeted?
Melissa Hortman was a former state house speaker, and she and her husband, unfortunately, were assassinated. And John Hoffman is a Minnesota state senator. And he and his wife are now in stable condition after surgery, and a bullet went basically inches from his heart and missed.
So, as we talked about before we started, Republicans are trying to get on top of it already and trying to pin it on Governor Walz, right? Tim Walz.
They already have.
Yeah.
Okay, well, what are they trying to say? Why is it his fault?
Well, they're trying to say, well, he appointed him to a position at some point. I don't know what I don't know why that would be.
He's no longer in that position.
Yeah, I don't know why that would be any.
Some security guard for a private company is not a government position.
Yeah, the company is called Praetorian.
Okay.
Like Praetorian Guard.
Praetorian Security.
Okay.
So that we'll find out more about that. Probably be unfair to speak on it. I'm highly suspicious that Walls had anything to do with it, but it's
Oh,
just
yeah, no.
propaganda machine swinging.
That's
back.
ridiculous.
Exactly.
They just,
Because Republicans are out to slander Democrats by any
No
means
matter what.
necessary. That's
Yep.
their strategy.
yep.
I agree. Yeah.
Mhm.
But did we cover? Well, first of all, you said he had 70 names. He had 70 names, so there could have been a lot.
He
More
basically
widespread.
had a manifesto and a hit list. And some of the people that were on that hit list were people involved in abortion.
Mm.
Okay. So I'm assuming that list will be published at some point. We'll know who some of those names are.
I'd say within the next week.
Yeah.
Because right now they're still gathering evidence from his car. But he is still at large at last
Oh,
report.
really?
Oh, really? Okay. That's
I just somehow thought he was apprehended.
No, he's still at large.
That's not good.
And they believe that he left the area where he attempted the assassination and succeeded on the other one, because a lot of residents near a golf course were under
They were told to lock down
yes,
or asked
Stay in
to
place.
lock down.
stay in
Because
place.
it's America.
mhm.
FBI is offering a $50,000 reward.
Yep.
Really?
Now, to be fair, I don't know if you can really pin that on Trumpism, or you can't really. To be fair, it sounds like he might be a maladjusted person. We'll
I'd say
find
it's
out
a
more.
combination of the two. Because
Yeah.
I mean, come on, the guy's got 70 people on his hit list, and the majority of those people were all Democrat.
Yeah. Well, we'll find out more about it for sure. Hopefully they apprehend him alive, although probably the chances of that have gone down somewhat. But hopefully
Yep.
they do get him alive, and then find out what exactly, find out if there is any. Who knows? Maybe you start
Mhm.
lifting rocks. Maybe you see that there are ties to people with more power than just somebody that's acting on their own. It could be a lot bigger. We'll see.
No, they said that he was acting alone.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right.
Yeah, well, they said that about Oswald.
Well, let's not go there. That's like
I'm just
that's
messing.
a conspiracy to
That's a conspiracy of a different level.
He texted his roommates that he made some bad choices and he might be dead soon.
Mm.
and they wrote back, "We know." Obviously.
Yeah, not a big shocker, dude. So, are you going to be late with the rent?
Okay, so
Awful.
21 years old, right?
No,
Oh, really?
He was 57.
Oh,
Yeah, I was
57.
going to say, I thought he was.
I'm
like,
getting my
closer to
cults mixed.
No, he was 57.
The young driver in Virginia was 21. All right, did we cover Joni Ernst last week?
I don't believe we did.
Yeah.
Well, actually, we did briefly. I take that back. We did briefly.
Okay. I don't think that we covered her so-called apology the next day
Oh, that bitch.
from the graveyard. And I'm going to go ahead and in post-production, I'm going to put a clip in here because I thought that was quite remarkable. That here's somebody who's already said something,
So
devastatingly awful.
So freaking
Already, she's already on the scoreboard, and then she doubles down on it.
They are not eligible, so they will be coming off. So people are not, well, we all are going to die. So for heaven's sakes.
I made an incorrect assumption that everyone in the auditorium understood that, yes, we are all going to perish from this earth. So I apologize. And I'm really, really glad that I did not have to bring up the subject of the tooth fairy as well.
But yeah, she talks about very sarcastic, heavily sarcastic, talking about, it's some very distraught woman in the back of the room had concerns about, people are going to die if this policy, if the bill is put through. And she said, I apologize for not realizing that everyone in the room understands that we all perish from this earth. And then she said, and I'm glad I just did not broach the topic of the tooth fairy. I mean, it was absolutely jaw-dropping, the sarcasm.
Yeah, this was in the quote-unquote apology. The original was just like, well, we're all going to die.
Yeah, which, was kind of an off-the-cuff comment, maybe you let, especially if you follow that up with some sort of clarification or something.
Yeah.
But it comes from the top down, this arrogance, this absolute brazen cruelty that these MAGA people.
Insert here that I am for the dignity of the end of your life. If your life is ending, you should be allowed to decide. I'm not saying that like 21-year-olds who are depressed should be allowed to commit suicide. But I think like if I had a severe cancer, bone cancer, whatever, I was in intense pain and there was no more treatment, I believe that, I should be able to decide how dignified my death would be. And, that's not something that the American government allows for.
Yeah, and of course, Medicaid was what the concern was of the anyway.
Right, Medicaid, especially for like the elderly, people in nursing homes. I mean, Medicaid is what basically supports most of the nursing homes in Southwest Ohio, because you can't afford a nursing home unless you spend down all of your money, and then they will transfer you to a Medicaid bed.
I mean, the story's kind of in the rear view mirror. It's not the biggest story of it.
It still is, because even though it's suspended right now because it didn't pass committee.
That's the bigger story. The big beautiful bill is definitely on. It has some issues.
It's still out there.
It's on life support right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully they pull the plug.
Well, here's how I feel about the healthcare system and Medicaid and Medicare. You really cannot call it health care. What it is health maintenance. It's just enough so you know that you're not well. That's all it is. I've worked in the healthcare system. I've worked in a nursing home. I've seen what goes down firsthand.
Yeah.
It's not healthcare, people. It's health maintenance.
It's babysitters.
It's like an old line from Kevin Tye in 8 Men Out, when they were talking about fixing the World Series in 1919. His line was, how much do you feed a horse? Just enough so he knows that he's hungry.
Interesting. I never thought about it that way. That kind of, we're not going to completely heal you. We're going to keep, we're going to keep you.
Keeping them alive. Yeah. It's babysitting. The fact that most of the nursing homes in this area insist on the residents, that's what they insist on calling them, residents, not patients, and they insist that they use wheelchairs because it's easier for the worker, and I mean, they're less likely to fall, but it also speeds up the end of their lives.
Yeah.
If you're not moving, if you're not walking, and especially on the Alzheimer's unit, I mean, eventually my mother-in-law forgot how to walk, but she could walk for a couple years still while they had her in wheelchairs.
Well, I mean,
I found that whole ideal to be somewhat deplorable.
But the big beautiful
It-
bill, like Will mentioned, it's kind of on life supports. I mean, and it's getting pilloried from different angles, not just the Medicare and Medicaid. A lot of Republicans feel like there are not enough cuts to Medicare and Medicaid, and that's why it's in jeopardy.
Well, if you take a look at that bill, deeply embedded in it is a one-word sentence, and that sentence basically prohibits federal courts, the Supreme Court, and appellate courts from making Trump be accountable for any damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a
Right.
one-word sentence, and it's
Yeah.
deeply embedded in that bill. And it was Senator Cory Booker that highlighted that sentence.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
One word sentence?
No, just
Oh.
one sentence.
Okay.
Just one sentence.
Well, that's
What's in
kind of
one
what's
word?
scary. I mean,
Yeah.
they are probably more than likely they're going to go and they're going to reshape this bill. They're going to make changes to it. They're going to probably get it through, but that's probably something that they do not have a problem with.
Well-
None of Republicans probably have a problem with that.
Yeah, there's
No,
we
of
were
course not,
watching-
because how dare they defy dear leader?
Yeah.
Mhm. Oh, I'll define all the way.
Well, then Marjorie Taylor Greene, her issue with it, she claims has to do with the fact that it protects AI from any oversight for 10 years moving forward. So in other
Yeah,
words,
so like states are not allowed to legislate AI in any way,
and,
according to the bill.
No, because that way Republicans can use AI to further their propaganda.
Yeah.
right.
Mhm.
So
They
there's,
want to use AI as a political machine.
Mhm.
there's different political things right now that make it very complicated, but they are going to more than likely pass something because his presidency depends on, I mean, they put all their chips in one spot here.
Mhm.
This big, beautiful, rather than try to do these things piecemeal and
Right.
take care of Medicare, or not Medicare, but if you take care of military funding in one bill and then something, the immigration in another bill or whatever. They're trying to pack it all into one mismatch.
Yeah. Well, and the way they
It's a-
keep
it's a
making
gamble.
changes and then trying not to tell anybody they made the changes and just trying to get it passed while these changes are in there. And that shouldn't be legal.
And-
Okay,
Well, the
they
bottom-
need to make that illegal.
Well, let me tell you what's going to happen with that, Lisa. Because of the alterations, the changes, the provisions, and everything else, what's going to happen is the big, beautiful bill is going to end up being diluted.
Mhm.
And it's not going to be anywhere near the bill when it was first proposed.
Right. Which,
And
Because
really,
there's no way in hell that it's going to pass if it isn't diluted.
and for me, it should be Congress needs to pass a law that any bill has to be finalized a week before any kind of vote so that they have time to review the bill. And if there are any changes during that time frame, then they need to highlight and submit those changes and the time starts over. In fact, I think 2 weeks would be good, but
Yeah,
even a
but
week,
but the problem with that, Lisa, is the fact that the Republicans have already taken away the filibuster.
Mhm.
So there's no way to get any changes in from that way.
Mm.
It's like for every one door that's open, the
close
Republicans
the
are closing
door.
3 or 4 more.
yeah,
Yeah.
true. But I think this is something where it's going to they're going to have to make those changes after. You know?
In other words, they're going to have to make amendments.
Right. No, what I mean is not to this particular bill, but pass a law making restrictions on your ability to make changes to a bill.
So what you're saying is if they cannot pass a bill as it's presented to the Senate from, after it goes through Congress and gets to the Senate, then it should go back to Congress and completely start over.
Yeah.
That once it gets past Congress, there should be no changes to the bill, is what you're saying.
Exactly.
Okay.
But the problem, but the thing with that is, once a bill's vetoed or voted against, it ends up going back to the House.
Well, that's what he's saying. That's what he means by Congress. Congress is the Senate and the House together. So the House has passed the bill. Is that right? Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, the House passed the
The
bill.
House has passed the bill. I meant like Congress is both.
Right. I didn't
Okay.
mean, in that context, I didn't
You
mean
did.
the House. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Now the House has passed the bill. They've made a vast majority of changes. I think it needs to go back to the House so the House can vote again. Now, what they can do, in my opinion, would be they can vote on just the changes. I would be okay with that, as long as those changes are properly highlighted, especially in a bill the size of this one.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think that these senators, these Republican senators who have voted in the House, who voted yes on this bill and have absolutely no idea what's in it.
Senators who voted in the House?
Fired. Huh?
You mean congressmen
okay,
who
sorry.
voted in the House?
Republican congressmen in the House,
Right.
representatives.
A number of them said that they
House
had not read the
representatives who
bill.
admitted that they had no idea what was in the bill, that they were like people, you know, they were being questioned in like committees, and they asked them about this provision, and they're like, oh no, that's not in there, and they're like, yes, it is, it's right here.
There was
you know.
more than one that did say
Yeah.
that there were things that
They had no idea what was in it. It was just too big to read.
had they known what was in the, they wouldn't have voted for it.
Right,
More
exactly.
than one that said that.
So
And
that's one of the things where it should be mandated that if you don't read it, your people need to read it.
Well, the thing
Somebody
is
needs
that
to read it.
the reason why
That's
the
your job.
Republican Party or the House Republicans in particular don't read that bill is because one, oh, I got better things to do. And two, I really don't give a damn as long as our beloved leader is the one
Yes.
proposing it.
Well, I'm aware of that, but that's why I feel that the Congress needs to legislate itself. Okay?
Which is
Uh,
never going to happen.
I know.
Right.
It would be nice. You know what? Huh. Maybe we have to do it.
I know it's hard.
Thank you. Depend on each other here.